throughout the entire transaction.
Yeah, that's a great unique value proposition. And this is something that, because kind of what you focused on was the fact that you have more than one person working for you, all for the same price. This is one thing I'm going to tell you as we have people join in. For my newer agents, a lot of times I'm asked, how do I win the listing if I'm up against, a more experienced agent or a team? How do I beat out a team? And, especially because I was on a team and leading a team at the time, I was like, well, I'm going to tell you how you beat me is you say, hey, absolutely. I get that you're thinking about hiring a team. Here's the thing is, yes, I'm a newer agent, and yes, I'm a single agent. However, I'm one of those, I don't have 20, 30 listings that I have to worry about at one time. I only have a few, which guess what? Means nobody's going to hustle harder and more than I will to get your home sold. You're going to get more one-on-one attention from me through the entire process. Got to be honest with the team. You never know who you're going to be talking to. You're going to get shifted from person to person, and their time is split between many, many different sellers. So that's how you be a team or a more expensive realtor. So there's definite ways that you can use that. Remember, your team is also your market center. So a lot of times when you talk about, when they'll say, how many homes have you sold, this sort of thing. Hey, you know what? My team in my market center is actually the number one Lake Nona area, or number one of the top closing brokerages in all of the state of Florida. We sold over $647 million worth of real estate, including luxury, as one of the top luxury brokerages. So no one's going to have more experience and support than my team. So your team's also your photographer, your lender, all of those sort of things. So there's some scripts for you on that. So anybody else, if we have more people joining in, again, please grab your camera or turn your camera on for me if you can. Anybody else have unique value propositions or something that you've thought of on the unique value proposition? And again, if you've never heard that, if that's new to you, the UVP, it's really just what your answer would be if somebody said, why would I hire you?
What I usually say, Debbie, is that I want to be the realtor for life.
Okay.
Basically, like, not for this transaction, but just especially when I'm like the other day, I went on a listing appointment and they were not sure and they were so worried saying, hey, I'm not promising anything. I'm like, that's fine. I want to be your realtor for life. Like, you have your doctor, you have your accountant, that's going to be me. So yes. I'm working on just like from that idea to develop a value proposition. So hopefully I can just go deeper there.
Yes. Okay. So Marina, I love that. We're going to start there because this is a great example for us to work from and for you guys to work from. A lot of times, yes, the unique value proposition and your mission and things like that are pretty short. However, remember, you can follow up with that conversation depending on what that seller has really said, that seller or buyer has said that's important to them. So remember, one of the first questions that you should be asking is, so tell me what's important to you when you hire a listing agent. What's going to be the deciding factor? What are the things that are most important to you? Because it's not about you, it's about them. Guys, because then that helps you know what your scripts are going to be geared towards after that. And you want to make sure you address each one of those things that's important to them. So if they say communication, then maybe you need to tweak a little bit towards communication. If they say price, okay, then we need to talk about maybe some of our stats of what our list to sale ratio is. And you should know that, by the way, if you're new, that's okay too. You can talk about the office. If they say time, like I want it done quick, great. Okay, well, did you know that actually my average days on market is only 5 days on the market versus the average realtor that's 16. So you should be ready with these kind of answers. And Marina, for you, when you say customer for life, you can gear your next sentence to be based on what they want. So you can say, you know what? Because I want to be your realtor to life and what your realtor for life. And what that means to you is because you said communication is so incredibly important to you, I am going to not just communicate, I'm going to over communicate the information that's happening on a day-to-day basis with your preferred method of communication. Text, email, phone, you tell me what works best, and I'm going to wow you with my communication skills to where you would never hire another agent.
Higher. Love it.
Right?
Yay.
Yes.
Love it.
So gear it towards what is most important to them. Okay. Because my value proposition, again, for me is always, I talk about, I get the deal closed at the highest price in our market on your timeline. That's my value proposition. Okay. And then I follow that up based on what they've said, because you'll notice I said my value proposition in my eyes is I'm a fighter to get that deal done. And I can back that up by saying 98% of my deals close. Okay. And then I follow it up with either more stats or more information based on what they've said is most important. If they said it's price, then I can say, and you know what? My stats for the last 12 months, I'm at 99% list to sell price ratio, which compared to the average realtor, which is about 94%, that means I'm going to put 5% more in your pocket. Basically, I'm pretty free because I'm going to put more money in your pocket, and what you're paying me, I'm basically free. So things like that, guys, start role playing and script playing around that. Figure out what makes you different. Okay. And don't say great customer service. How many people think you use that? Right? Think of something that means you. Okay, so let's take that even further, because this is super important. I want this to be one of your takeaways for you today, to know how to answer that question, because I can promise you it will get asked. Okay, so here's some things for your unique value proposition to consider. And this is one thing that it says in the MREA. Great service begins with a clear picture of why someone should work with you. Okay, and here's 4 steps to figure out and kind of think about who you are and what you represent. 1 is identify your target market. Who have your customers been? That can be, age group. It might be location. It might be a certain thing that they like. Maybe they're from your church or whatever that looks like. Think about who your typical or usually your clients are. If you don't know that, that's telling me you need to find out who your customers have been for the last 12 months. Who has hired you? If you're new, think about who you think you attract. Who are your friends? Okay, what types of jobs maybe do they do? So think about your target market and how you're going to connect with them. Okay.
Hi, Debbie. I joined a little late.
That's okay. Hi,
I was out
Shirley.
working out with my dog.
No problem. Welcome. And so that is a great way also for your branding, guys. Your branding should also mimic who you are. So if you're super techie, your font and branding should be super techie looking. So make sure you're matching whatever your unique value proposition, make sure your brand mimics that. It should be consistent. It should be the same. Every single thing that you do, business cards, Facebook ads, Canva, all of that good stuff should be consistent and the same. Your fonts, your colors, just your overall brand. Is it super luxury? Is it more fun? What does that look like? The next thing is define what makes you different and make a list of distinguishing factors. And don't be afraid to be different, guys. Alexia is not on here, and I'll tell this to her straight to her face. She's fun. She's funny. She's fun. If you haven't seen her on TikTok, she's fun, right? She's not going to be a boring realtor. let's face it, she's not going to be super serious. So if you're super serious, she may not be the right realtor for you. Right? Does that make sense? So think about who you are. Think about what you represent. Think about the people that you attract. These are the people that are also going to want to do business with you. Okay? Recognize the pain point that your product sells. Okay, let's talk about pain point. What are the number one complaints that we hear from customers, or what are the complaints we hear from customers all the time? Start shouting them out.
The real estate agent is not educated enough.
Ooh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're not educated. Great. Love that.
Communication.
Communication is probably the number one, right?
Yep.
And remember, guys, everybody has a different vision of communication. So just because one person thinks it's great to call them twice a week, another person may want you calling twice a day. So we need to make sure we understand what good communication means to them. So communication, what else?
Honesty.
Honesty, integrity, trust. I mean, did you guys know we're basically rated right under when they send the survey out on trustworthiness or integrity? Do you guys know we're like at the very bottom? We're just above car salesmen. Did you guys know that?
No. Wow.
Yes, we are rated, realtors are rated just above car salesmen. So you should know that. When you go in, you're sort of fighting that uphill battle. It is, I mean, think about how many people get into real estate because of a bad experience. So yeah, unfortunately, we're just above car salesmen in that trustworthiness. So yes, integrity, that's huge. Trust, all of that. What else? What else do they complain about?
Not being available for them.
Say that again.
Not being availability. Not being available for them.
Oh yeah. Return phone calls. Yeah, kind of, it goes with
communication. Yeah.
That does. Negotiation is another one. They did not negotiate very well. I feel like they didn't fight for me. That's a big one, for sure.
I think another complaint is when the buyers cannot meet their realtors, when the buyer wants to meet them, or the weekends or certain times or things like that, that becomes a huge issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hear that all the time. And let's face it, sometimes we need to set expectations around what that really looks like. Everybody wants it and they want it now, right? Back in the day, maybe Denise remembers this, I don't know, but you remember when we had to go through like the books, the MLS books, and man, it took at least 3 days to set a showing. It was like, you guys don't understand how easy. I wasn't a realtor then. I was actually a realtor's assistant through college. And I remember having to make 4,500 copies out of an MLS book. So yes, they want it. They want it now. That's the expectation of immediate gratification. One other thing is marketing and technology. That's another thing. So if that's your gig, then talk about that. Marina said customer for life, and then she can really take that and take that to another level, depending on what that means. Is it communication? Is it integrity? What does that look like? And then you can always back it up with facts. Know your stats. And if you have reviews, guide them to your reviews. Don't tell them how fabulous you are. Guide them to your reviews. Okay. And then the other thing is consider what you stand for as a company. And I've got some background noise. If you guys can mute, if you're not speaking, that would be great. But yeah, consider what you stand for as a company. Your mission, your values, your beliefs, any of those things you can also bring into the picture as well. And hopefully that will get you started. You want to make it as short as possible and not complicated. Remember, they don't necessarily ingest all of the things that we say. So we have to make sure and make it impactful, yet clear and concise. Is that helpful? Anybody need help and want to dig deeper into maybe what they think it could be and dig a little bit deeper into that. All right. All right, so we ended up on page 95 and 96. And we were talking about functionary and fiduciary. And here's where it starts to talk about your unique value proposition, which I did not want to gloss over because you will be asked, why should somebody hire you? And the beautiful thing is then you can move that into your branding. Okay, functionary, fiduciary. By the way, another thing that this great figure on page 96, that figure 7, that's also kind of a great way when we talk about hiring people, talent versus non-talent. Of what does this look like of talent and non-talent?
Yeah, I just had that happen to me this weekend for a buyer, and a friend of mine referred me, and he said, "Oh, she's new." And I didn't get to talk to him, but I told my friend, I said, "You tell him that I'm new, but I've purchased 3 homes already on my own. So as a buyer, I've been there myself. So now I just have more education to assist a buyer." And he actually dropped the other person and came with me.
Hey, that's a huge win. You know why? Because you fought for that. Like what that says to me is, hey, this girl can negotiate. She can negotiate for me, right? Like you went in there and you fought for it and you believed in yourself. I tell you guys something, confidence goes a really long way in this business. A lot of times you'll hear fake it till you make it. You know what? If you believe you are the best person for that job and you go in there truly believing that, man, that listing is just yours to lose, because when you exude that, I promise you, you will get hired. Remember, they're only listening to about 10, 15% of the things you're saying, but your body language and your confidence speak volumes. So do whatever little thing you have to do on your way to the listing, get all the jitters out, do your affirmations, whatever that looks like. You need to do that before your appointments. I can promise you it will make a difference. So thank you for sharing, Shirley. That's awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the 3 L's of real estate. On page 97, one of the things that they talk about quite a bit here in Keller Williams is the Pareto's principle, or the 80-20 rule. You will hear both of those things spoken about quite a bit. Can anybody tell me what the 80-20 rule is? I know you've all heard it before. I know that's not new. Who can tell me what the 80-20 rule is?
20% of your actions determine 80% of the results.
Yes. You said it backwards than I'm used to hearing, but and
Okay.
yes, that's correct. So on page 97, you'll see that this Mr. Pareto in 1906 noted that 80% of the farmland in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. And it happens again and again in business, where basically 80% of our results will come from 20% of our actions. And that may be exactly what you said, Jose. So that's on page 97. That's the 80-20 rule, guys. And what that means, let me break that down, is 80% of our time should be spent in our top 20%. What do I mean by that? It's the most important things. My top 20%, you guys can envision all of our crazy to-do list or must-do list, or however that you want to call those lists. Really only 20% of those things are the top things that we should be doing to make it a successful day. So those things are the things that we need to make sure we circle, highlight, because those things should be done first. All the other stuff can be done later. So we need to spend 80% of our time on the top 20% of things that we should be doing. This also goes for your database, guys. This is why everybody will tell you to get your database together, and you should rank them, or at least do like a top 20, a top 50, a top 100, whatever that looks like, because sizes are different for a database. But you want to break that down where you have like your top 10%, your top 20%. because 80% of your time, effort, and money should be spent on your top 20%. Stop wasting your time chasing a buyer down for 4 months. Stop doing that. Please stop. I can't tell you how many times I've heard in just the past couple weeks of, well, I have this buyer. However, he hasn't called the lender. And then I called him again and he did this, that, and the other. And then I keep pushing him. Okay, stop doing that. Go find another person that's ready, willing, and able. You can keep that person in your database, but stop spending 80% of your time on somebody that's not a top 20%. Go back to your top 20% activities. Can anybody start shouting out, what are some of my top 20%? As real estate agents, what's in my top 20%?
Lead gen.
Lead gen. And by the way, guys, I know many people hate that word. You can call it connect, you can call it care calls, you can call come from contribution, whatever you want to call it. Lead generation. Okay, what else?
Lead follow-up.
Lead follow-up. Yes, what else?
Negotiate contracts.
Yes.
Role playing.
I feel like you've done this before. You've heard this before, Marina. Yes, what else?
Writing contracts. There you
Yes, I put executing contracts. I also
Yeah.
put appointments.
go. Okay.
Okay. And sometimes training, although that's not necessarily your top 20%, depending on what level you are. But those things, I hope you wrote those things down, because here's the deal, guys, your websites, your business cards, all of those things are not your top 20%. If you're not, I want you to think, man, at the end of the day, if you're feeling like I didn't get anything done, I don't feel accomplished, I didn't get any leads, nothing happened, I want you to start documenting how much time you're truly spending in your top 20%. Sometimes we need a bit of a reality check. If we're looking on page 98, you can get the visual of the 80-20 and realizing where 80% of your results are going to come from are those things we just mentioned. Admin, paperwork, all that other stuff, yes, it may need to be done, but until your top 20% of things are done, then that other stuff can usually wait. Let's face it, a lot of us, we get locked up into the whirlwind of the urgent. If it's not in your top 20%, you need to rethink that sometimes, or sometimes what we think is urgent is not truly urgent. Or let's face it, lead generation can be painful to some of us. So we move away from the pain and we go, you know what, I'm going to go do some social media posts. If you're not getting leads from your social media posts, then that's not your top 20%. Don't tell me it is. Don't tell me, because then I'm going to go, great. How many appointments have you booked from Facebook? I know you guys are smiling because I do the same thing. Like, I really don't want to make that call. Let me check Facebook, see if I have any messages. I'm the same way. I get it. It's not your top 20%. And sometimes we need that wake up call. So that's really important on that. So we're on page 98. One of the things it talks about is being busy. Okay. Everybody says they're busy, right? Busy, busy, busy. How many here have agents here that they are always so busy? Have you seen agents here that are just so busy? Yet when the results come out, they're not in the top 20%. What does that tell you?
They're not delegating. They're not working their time out very well.
Yes.
They're not working on important assignments.
Yes. They're not focused on their top 20%. They're getting things done. They want to be busy, but they're not focusing on that. Somebody put a post, and I can't remember who that was. I think Omar, you might have liked it, or Lorena, you guys may have commented, but it was something about you should never be too busy for your family or something like that. Or, you know, let's face it, we give the excuse of I'm too busy on the things that really should be in our top 20%.
It was Brian Budrum.
Ah, thank you.
Yep.
Brian Budrum. That was a beautiful post. And I don't know about you guys, but I was like, oh, like that kind of hit home because I can't tell you how many, my mom passed away almost 12 years ago, but I have a godmother and I haven't called her in like 2 weeks. And I was like, God, I keep saying I'm so busy. I'm not too busy to make a phone call to her. That's crazy. So what we need to do is make sure we time block, give some reflection. She should be in my top 20%. So those are things that we really have to remember. These excuses that we're so busy, if they're important and you know they're important to your success, to your family, then you make time. Does that make sense? Good. You're all nodding. So I like it. All right. So let's go to page 99. We have our beautiful little triangle there. And what do we need to add at the top of that triangle?
Give a
Give.
million.
Give. Yes. Give a million. And by the way, for the people that are in my at my wealth building club, by the way, if you want to join us, it's open to everybody. It is on the last Thursday of every month at 6:30, and I hold it in my home. You guys are welcome to that. It's on the calendar as well. One of the big things there is a lot of people want to give. It's not in everybody's kind of mission, but it is a lot of people. So we want to add the give. And actually the Facebook group I created is called Make a Million, Give a Million. So we'll all be into that wealth building Facebook group, and you're all invited to that as well. So make sure you add give there, because that is a portion, that is a part of the new triangle that will be coming out. So let's talk about that dirty word, lead generation versus lead receiving. Lead generation, as you guys know, a lot of us get that nasty feeling and that pit in our stomach when lead generation comes around. So we really do need to work on our mindset around that, of reaching out to people, making it a care call, because you can still connect and say something about your business, even though it is a care call. So remember, you can definitely change your mindset around that, because we have this feeling a lot of times that we're bugging people, which means, you know what, we're being very judgmental around that. Just because we may not like it doesn't mean they don't want to hear from you guys. You may or may not know this, but most real estate agents have what we call a high D personality, which basically means we're go, go, go. We don't have a lot of patience. We want to get it and get it done. Most real estate agents have a lot of high D in our personalities, which is really a very small percentage of the population, guys. So we can't make a judgment against what we like or don't like to everyone else. A lot of people do like to hear from us. They do like to feel needed, and they do like to help. So we got to change our mindset a little bit around that, on that. So lead generation versus lead receiving. Talk to me a little bit about that. Tell me the difference there.
Debbie, I will say that lead generation is basically when you reach out to contacts and you actually find the lead yourself.
Yes.
And lead receiving is when you have a past buyer or a past seller, a past client, or it could be a friend, a coworker, and they actually give you a lead.
Yes, you hit it right there. Absolutely. We also call it order takers.
Yeah.
Order takers. What's the issue with that? What's the problem with that, Omar?
With the order takers is that you basically just sit around waiting for a lead to come in, and then you really don't know how your business is going to look, 4 or 6 months from now, if you just sit at home waiting for your phone to ring.
Yes. And what happens in a shift, Omar? If you're a lead taker, what happens in a shift?
Oh, you're in trouble.
Yes. You are in big trouble, guys. You guys should know the market and just the real estate industry in general is changing. People have a ton of options. And if you're not lead generating, meaning meeting new people, getting more referrals, and building a moat, what we call a moat, you see a castle, the moat. If you're not building the moat around your people, they will leave. they will get distracted and they will get grabbed from your database very quickly, now more than ever. So what does that mean? You have to make sure that you are showing value, just like those things you talked about: education, communication, knowledge, one-on-one personal experience, whatever you want that to be. That's how you need to make sure that you're showing to your customers to never leave you, because they never want to leave you. Okay, so that's super, super important. Lead generation versus lead receiving. It will not survive the shift. You always have to be lead generation. So let's talk about leads. The top of 99, it says to have a viable business, you simply must have the client leads. To have a business that pays you a lot of money, you will need a lot of leads. So I don't think a lot of people know when they get this into this business, you are in a lead generation business and a lead follow-up business. You are in both. You are also in a relationship business. You are not in the business of buying and sell homes. You can do that. If you want to do that, then you get a job and an employee job where you're getting paid a salary. Then maybe you're in the buying and selling business, but you are running your own business. You are an entrepreneur and you are in the lead generation, lead follow-up, and relationship nurture business. It says in the middle of the page, what you have to embrace is the fact that it is the number of qualified leads you have that will either grow your business, keep you in business, or put you out of business. Nothing else about your business will have as big as an impact on it as the number of leads you have. This was a huge reminder to me as a past agent and also with the team. If you don't have enough leads, nothing else matters. Not how pretty your website is, not that you've done 15 TikToks. If you don't have enough leads, there is nothing else that you need to focus on. It can be painful, but that's the reality of the situation. And notice I have the word qualified there. Just because you have 5 people in the pipeline that you're chasing like a crazy person does not mean you have enough business. Can everybody relate to that, where they feel like I'm busy? However, if I don't have enough leads, what does that mean for tomorrow's business? A lot of times we trade today business for tomorrow's business. What do I mean by that? When I say a lot of times we trade in today's business for tomorrow's business.
We get so busy that we forget that we have to lead generate. We basically take care of the customers we're working with right now, but we don't lead generate because we're busy to do that. So.
Yes, it happens all the time. And what does that create, guys, in our business?
Ups and downs, ups and downs.
Woohoo! I'll jump on the real estate roller coaster, baby. I'm good, I'm not so good. I'm good, I'm not so good. And that comes from that roller coaster. We get caught up in the chaos and the whirlwind. Let's face it, it is there. And there are times we won't, like a day just goes to heck in a handbasket. Let's face it, those days happen. But we need to replace that. Whether it's a weekend, whether it's after hours, whatever that looks like, it should be time blocked. And anytime you move something in your calendar or replace it, you need to move it to another spot. When you know it's in your top 20%, then it needs to be done. Nothing else matters. Here's an interesting thing, especially for my parents out there, because a lot of times at the end of the day, we feel guilty, right? You've heard of parent guilt. Whatever that looks like, whether that's your spouse, your pets, whatever, we get guilty. We get that guilty feeling because either we haven't spent time in our business or we haven't spent time with them, or maybe our house is a disaster, whatever that looks like. This is something my coach shared with me, which was a huge aha to me, is where does that guilt come from? Why do you feel guilty at the end of the day?
Regret.
Yes. Definitely. And you know where that regret comes from is because you know here and here you spent time out of your top 20%. You wasted time somewhere or did not use your time efficiently, and you spent time out of your 20%. So you didn't get something done that you know should have been done. Again, whether that's family or whether that is in your business. Because if you know you've got what you'll hear called your big rocks or your top 20%, same thing. If you know you got those things done, at the end of the day, it's really tough for you to feel guilty. And by the way, I mean big rocks, both family and your business. If you nailed those, all right, maybe your house is a mess, maybe the dishes aren't done, maybe you didn't do the laundry, whatever that was, you'll get over that. But you won't get over the fact that you were late to pick up your kid, or you didn't call your mother, whatever that was, guys. So remember, big rocks first. This is why you hear lead generation from 9 to 11, because usually in the morning is when you have the most energy and you can get it done. So as the chaos ensues throughout the day, at least you have the most important things done. So that's why that's so incredibly important. Okay, any questions or thoughts around that?
No, I was gonna say, last year I remember we had a conversation and you asked me, because I was like, I don't think I'm doing enough. So you said clarity is power. Just get your priorities. So at the end of the day, you don't feel you have to do more. If you have to call 10 people and you're done, okay, you're doing. So it was like going back and seeing what were my priorities. And I said, okay, it's not that bad, It's not, because we always want more, right? So and we can be working until 12 a.m. So what is the line? So I would say just having those priorities.
Yes, and boundaries. What you're talking about there is boundaries too, because it is. We have to have boundaries around our business, and we have to set that expectation. And usually your customers will understand that you have boundaries as well. You're the professional, guys. There's no reason you should be going crazy at crazy hours of the night. Hey, we all have those days. But in general, if that becomes a habit where every day till 11 p.m. you're ignoring everybody else to do business, that's a teaching moment, guys. There's other ways, whether that's a leverage, and I don't mean people, it could be a system or a tool, or it could be you're not time blocking and using your time efficiently. So all of those things matter and are super important. So on page 100, it says, in a prosperous market, this is in the first paragraph, in a prosperous market, there are usually many agents relying on passive lead generators, casual referrals, and luck to create business. I highlighted that part because the luck is interesting to me. I get for especially new agents. Let's face it, watching other agents, it seems a lot easier than it truly is. What we see on social media, it seems a lot easier. I can promise you guys, all of us that have been doing this more than 2 years, we're exactly where you are. Frustrated, tired, why isn't it happening faster? Frustrated, we've all been there. So just because it seems like, oh my gosh, how are they doing it? How are they closing? It takes time to start that funnel. So the more you're consistent and you do the same thing every day, the faster you will get to where these other agents are. You just have to bite the bullet and get the ugly stuff done to get the business that you want. Okay, direct prospecting and marketing. It talks about that again in the middle of the paragraph, prospecting and marketing. Guys, those are two different things. Don't mix those up. Prospecting and marketing are two different things. Prospective is the active. You're getting out there and doing something. You're having conversations. Marketing is passive, where things are going out. Two different things. You should be prospecting based, marketing enhanced, especially first starting out. Prospecting based, marketing enhanced. Very, very important there. So second paragraph, do you have enough leads that if you close them properly, you'd be reaching your goals? There is no magic button. Stop looking for the magic button, guys. If you don't have enough leads, it's not something else that you're missing. It's a lead problem. Now, if you have plenty of leads, then it's a conversion problem or a leverage problem. And we're going to talk more about leverage and listings as well. Okay. So lead generation, I get asked this a lot. Should I stop lead generating because I have so much business, I can't even handle it? Gary Keller says at the very bottom of page 100, lead generation stays on even when the volume might appear overwhelming. So never shut off your lead generation. Yes, you might have to do slightly less. Yes, you may need to stop and implement a leverage system, and we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Even if you guys get so many leads, you have to start giving them out to get a referral. Don't just let the business drop, and don't have that ego where you have to hold it right here. And either you don't provide them the customer service that they should get, because I promise you that reputation is bigger than anything else. If you need to find somebody in the office that you need to provide or give those leads to, then you find that person, but you never let that drop. You can also hire a showing assistant these days. There's lots of different models that you can have, because I know there are agents out there, especially new agents, that would love to work with you and get that experience under their belt. So there's no need to hold it all in here. If you can't provide what you should be providing, that customer experience for them, you can leverage that as well. Anything else on leads before we move to listings? All right, let's talk about listings. Listings has been the nemesis in our office for the past year, especially. We have dropped in this office quite a bit as far as the percentage of people taking listings. Yes, I do know that listings are tough to get, and out there in the whole MLS, they are down. However, our office is down more than most, which tells me we need script practice. We need to role play and talk about how to win the listing. So last month, I know we had Yin Yao doing a listing presentation. Those are the classes. If you're struggling with listings and how to win with listings, I promise you there are agents here that will help you with the conversation or just where to find sellers. On page 102, you'll see the many virtues of seller listings. So here they get into the seller versus the buyer. Here's the interesting why you'll see so many things push towards listings. It's not that buyers are bad. That's not it. It's just there's a ceiling with buyers. There is only so many buyers that we can work with at one time. Kate, you're fairly new, but you're working with people. Do you know, or have you felt that yet, the ceiling of how many buyers you feel you can work with at a time at a high level?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I just had my first deal closed, and it was definitely a lot to take in for the first one, and it definitely hit a lot of walls with it. So it was a really, really learning experience. So I think, yeah, going forward, I kind of want to take it slower. And as much as I have people in my timeline, taking it slow and being able to really give that one-on-one until I feel fully comfortable with the whole process. But yeah, I would say me, especially being newer, dealing with only a couple at a time is about where I would be and feel most comfortable.
Yep. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was looking for as a newer agent. Omar and Lorena, do you know kind of how many buyers you can work with at a time before it just gets to be too much?
You're on mute. You said 8.
8. Okay, so that's a lot, right? Now, Lorena's been in the business, Lorena and Omar have been in the business for a while, so they probably have additional systems and tools to be able to handle a bit more. However, there is still that ceiling of how many people that you can do. Where listings, the beautiful thing, and we talked about this a little bit, is the beautiful things is listing really doesn't have too much of a max. I mean, you've got to be doing 25, 30 listings, assuming that you have some leverage as far as putting the listings in, especially these days, they're closed. Your ceiling isn't normally these days the listing, it's the closing, right? Because listings are going under contract so fast. It's not necessarily the listing, it's the contract after that. So you have that limit of how many contract to close you can go through. And that's generally why a lot of us have transaction coordinators, because it used to be a listing could take us 30 days. These days that doesn't happen. It's usually, oh my gosh, my phone is blowing up and going crazy. I can't breathe. I can't even take these calls. Then you have to go through the multiple offer process. Then you have to go through all of these things. Boom, 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 boom. So that's usually the ceiling. So here in this table, it talks about seller listings being marketing opportunities where buyers, right? We don't get to hang a sign on our buyer's back and say, you know, the MREA team, that's who I'm working with. Yeah. Although I'm going to give you a little tip, guys, which we started doing maybe 4 or 5 years ago, is every time we meet a new buyer, I have a little baggie. It's an Irons Team paper little gift bag, right? And it says Irons Team on it. And it has things like waters. It has a pen and paper, but of course the pens are branded. The little booklets are branded. It has snacks in it. So you're kind of giving them a little care pack when you first meet them as you're going out to show homes. Guess what, guys? They carry it around, and guess what it has on it? Logos and branding, right? Koozies, whatever, guys, because people love free stuff and they use those. So that's free marketing to you. You have more control of your time in listings. The seller listing maximizes your per hour compensation because you make the same thing generally from a listing and a buyer with a few adjustments. These days, let's face it, marketing isn't super expensive. Yes, you have the sign-in pictures. However, it still maximizes your per hour compensation, the volume that we can do, as we talked about. Seller listings, you are front end of pricing. I thought this was super interesting because I had not heard this in a long time. When you take seller listings, you are on the front end of pricing, which translates to an intimate knowledge of the market. Because you are kind of in control of the listing, you see where the market is going. You have a lot of insight into what buyers are thinking. Because in the market, whatever market it is, it can move pretty fast. And what we find is a lot of times the market value of a property isn't necessarily what an appraiser says, it's what a buyer says. What do I mean by that? Can anybody tell me what I mean by that?
I think what you're saying is whatever purchase price the buyer and the seller agree to.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
That's exactly whatever a buyer is willing to pay.
Right.
These days, although we know what market value is according to what an appraiser would say, a buyer is now willing to pay 10, 15, in California, 150,000 over list price. That is the market value of the property, not what it says in black and white, not what an appraiser says, what a buyer is willing to pay and what they're doing. If you guys weren't in the class yesterday, both the office meeting and there was a 3 o'clock class on bulletproofing the offer, meaning what do we do in multi-offer situations? You have got to be creative and so good in your offers, guys. And if you didn't get that, that recording is going to be going up because those are invaluable, both for the office meeting and those classes. If you're writing offers and you're not winning every one, you need to take that class. There's invaluable information, guys, in that. Okay. And a properly marketed seller listings brings you more business. Again, I think I told you guys, we always make sure we at least get 2 more pieces of business from a listing. So I should either get another listing because a seller in the neighborhood, because I've marketed, said, guess what? Under contract in 2 days, we had 15 overpriced offers, blah, 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 blah. I make sure with every listing, you should be getting 2 more pieces of business. Now hear me, I don't mean 2 more leads. I mean 2 more closed deals, and we track it. We track all of the leads that come in from that specific listing, whether it's buyer and seller, and we are held accountable on the team to making sure it brings 2 more pieces of closed business to that. All right, let's jump to leverage. Now, I want to change your mindset because a lot of people will say, I don't need leverage. I don't need people. I don't want to build a team. I am not just talking about, when we talk about leverage, guys, I'm not just talking about building a team or hiring admin. I am talking also leverage comes in people, systems, and tools. That can be technology tools maybe that you need. That can be in a system like, oh my goodness, I need a checklist ASAP. So these are the things I'm talking about. Leverage comes in many different forms: people, systems, and tools. Okay, so when you start to get to the point of needing those, then you need to stop and think. If you have too many leads, a lot of times that's when you need a system or a tool. However, you have to earn the right. I'm going to talk about this a little bit in leverage. Is a lot of times we want to take away the pain of lead generation or buyers. And so we'll have a team or a person, a single agent say, I want to hire an agent. And we have to dig it. So talk to me a little bit about that. Well, tell me a little bit about why you want to hire an agent. Well, I don't like buyers. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean you're ready for a buying agent. Okay, let's look at your business. Do you truly have so many leads and so little time that you can't work with all of these people that it makes sense? Also, do you have the systems, the administrative systems in place to support a buyer's agent? You have to earn the right to bring an agent on. And the new models in the organization model of Keller Williams is that agent hire is at the very end. It used to be admin, agent, no more. It is transaction coordinator, admin, showing assistant, ISA. You have all of these things before you bring in buyer's agent. Do you know why that is?
They want to make sure you stay profitable.
Yes, because buyer's agent and giving up 50%, let's just say it's 50%, is way more expensive than buying a tool, hiring an hourly admin, hiring a $350 transaction coordinator, or paying a showing assistant at 10 to 20%. Okay, so be careful about just wanting to give away the pain. That's not really how it works. So, and making sure that you're adding the right people. Remember, I talked about that quality versus non-quality. You got to make sure that you have that, because great talent should increase your business. Whatever you're paying them, you should be getting 2 to 3 times that back in growth in your business. Again, a lot of people will go, oh, but she's taking the calls. She is taking the pain. That's not always the right reason. They should either be giving you an incredible amount of quality time back or an incredible amount of growth back. There has to be a give and take on that. Very, very important on that. So first hire, let's talk about first hire, because the power of the first hire cannot be overstated. And who did I say is the first hire?
TC.
Most of the time it's a TC because they're the cheapest and you don't have to have a full-time person. And it's a person you don't have to manage. And take it from me, that hands-off beauty of finding the right TC, raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, can be a lifesaver. Who here has a TC? Raise your hand. Who's got a TC? Yes. Very, very important. So most people hire a TC or transaction coordinator first, an admin second. That's more of your admin type duties. Some people hire a marketing person next instead of admin because their TC handles that. They hire a marketing person, and that just depends on your business. We usually talk through that. Career visioning, guys, we go through the hiring process called career visioning, which actually was offered last week. And then the next step to career visioning is lead, train, motivate, or 30, 60, 90. You'll hear both of those things. And I believe that's at the end of February. So that's basically how to train and retain great talent. That's a fabulous class. So I'm looking in the chat here. Do we have a recording for the Yin Yao class? I believe that was not recorded. That was an in-person requirement class. So I don't think that was recorded. That was actually Lorena. So I don't think that was recorded at all. And then is there a hub or certain place where all recorded classes are held? Great question. So we do have a YouTube, and Karina, I know Elena's not on here, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. You will find most of the recorded classes in the Facebook group, but of course I know those can get lost. We also have a YouTube channel, or if there's anything specific you want, you can ask us and we'll make sure we get that. Oh, she actually put, we upload videos to the YouTube. Perfect. And if you're ever missing something or you don't see something, come to us for that, because we can probably get you that, because we know how important it is if you miss a class. We'd love to have you there, because of course I know it's a little bit easier to engage and ask your questions, but we want to make sure that you have that. Okay, did you enjoy today's class? You guys get some ahas? Shout them out to me. I'd love to hear 3 ahas from today's class on the 3 L's and unique value proposition.
The
Big loss
transaction
first.
coordinator.
Ooh, transaction coordinator. Who was that? Was that Shirley? Yes, transaction coordinator. Next.
For me, it was definitely the question where do you have enough leads that if you close them properly, you'd be reaching your goals? And I feel like, yes, I'm in that situation, but it's a conversion problem. And I think it's just me. It's something I need to work on. And I already have set up with the group to do some scripting practice on Monday. And that's something my team lead, Steve, has been pushing me to do. And I need to work on that, because I think that will definitely help with the leads I have, is getting them converted with the scripts.
Beautiful. Kate, I love that. You know what? Because some people, you probably just need to ask better questions. Usually it's all about the questions, whether you determine if they deserve your time or not. So that way you stop dealing with the ones that don't deserve your time and you focus on those ones that do. So huge awareness on that. Yes, sometimes we like to say we have enough leads when you know you don't have enough leads and you need to get those leads. So there's mathematics around that too. So that's something that we'll talk about in the lead model, lead generation model. We'll dive deep into that, of how to figure out if you have enough leads to reach your goal. So we'll talk about that too. What else you got, guys?
Just the point you said about the care calls, that some people actually like getting calls.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
when I feel lonely in their house and like, oh, somebody's calling me. I'll talk to them.
The phone call has gone away, right? Like a lot of people don't call anymore and they do want to hear from you. I personally hate the phone. I'm very open about that. Even my friends and family know you better text me first. My 78-year-old father will text me because he knows I'm not going to pick up a call. I'm not a fan. I'm on the phone all day, so I don't necessarily want to be doing it with family and friends. I'm not saying that's a good thing, guys. This is an admission of it not being a good thing. However, I'm fully aware of that. So thank you, Mo. All right, anybody else? All right, well, we will wrap that up, guys. We are only at 1:01. Today, I'm only 1 minute late. So thank you guys so much for continuing to come. Anybody here not have the tracking form? Please raise your hand if you don't have the tracking form, because the next pages I'm actually going to have you read on your own. 107, they're super self-explanatory. 107 through the end of the chapter. At 117, you're going to read on your own, and we are going to skim over those pages in the next class. And a lot of it is about tracking, which we should be already doing. So if you don't have the tracking, please text me or put it in this chat, and we'll make sure that Monette has you on the tracking, because that's really important. Please fill that out. There is a purpose for it, I promise. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.